Hey y'all, it's your boy Vampstroke here, and I want to talk to you today about Last Epoch. Last Epoch has situated itself to probably be the most well-rounded ARPG around today, and I would urge anyone who hasn't played it or hasn't played it in a while to check it out. Because with this latest update, Cold Tombs the Erased, it has drastically improved on all areas of the game, but most notably endgame, where it has historically been lacking. On top of that, there's been numerous improvements to classes, skills, itemization stuff, quality of life features all across the board. Also, come check me out. I've been streaming over on Twitch TV/Vampstrike, as well as here on YouTube. Now first, I want to talk about the classes and skills. When you start the game, you'll be able to pick one of 5 classes, each with their own large variety of skills, and then the ability to specialize into one of 3 mastery classes. And that further kind of advances your build variety and skill selection, as well as providing some passive benefits. Now at the moment, while I've been over streaming, I've been playing a lot of Void Knight, messing around with a whole bunch of things to do with these devouring orbs that kind of teleport around as I jump around with this volatile reversal skill, basically dropping massive damage on an area. As well as in my own time I've been playing a mage that kind of just floats around, automatically zapping nearby enemies and then triggering meteors to drop on enemies. Now, most of these sorts of things are possible thanks to Last Epoch's skill system, which lets you specialize in up to 5 skills, depending on what level you're at, to give them various bonuses and make them interact with other skills. For example, my Devouring Orb, which is the one I showed on my Void Knight a second ago, has a whole bunch of benefits for, I've got specifically time rot and damage over time stuff, as well as just making them bigger. And this extra one that just makes so the orbs will consume each other to make a bigger orb. That alone is not like super interesting, but then we go to Volatile Reversal. Now, Volatile Reversal is usually a jump forwards and then jump back ability, does some damage. But then you get this thing here that's when you jump forwards in time, all your Devouring Orbs are pulled towards you and trigger a Void Rift. And that becomes really cool because that's where you could start setting up these kind of interactions where I will pull the orbs with me. And so I can start doing this. I also have some other things for Volatile Reversal, such as being able to combo twice forwards in time rather than forwards and back. And there's the combining of the orbs. So we've got some really nice stuff there that just interacts really well. This other ability, Anomaly, is just a simple debuffs an enemy. I made it debuff an enemy. It does some other stuff originally to make them take extra void damage. And then it gives me this bubble around me that basically gives me a massive stat buff to everything, as well as shredding nearby enemies' void resistance. And then, something like Symbols of Hope is just give me a lot of damage and defensive power, just kind of passively. And then when I need single target, I have this Smite ability, which just drops stuff on a single enemy. As another example, my mage has a similar kind of setup where some of the skills interact with each other. For example, I've specialized in Lightning Blast here, just making it do more single target damage. And then into Static, so that Static builds up charges over time. You can kind of see it here on the bottom of the screen. We've got this charge number. And then once it's at over 80 charges, it starts automatically firing Lightning Blast, which is really nice. And then in Focus usually you sit still and you channel lightning, channel mana rather. You get the ability to channel lightning around you, which is what this thing here is. It gets a little more advanced when you start thinking of unique items, and that's kind of where I want to push over to more build enabling stuff. Like, for example, I have this Harbinger of Stars. This is where my meteors come from. Basically, that 9% chance to cast Meteor on crit, that line just in the middle there, that's the big thing. That's how I'm getting that extra oomph out of Meteor, but other than that, I also have this one here that lets me basically move while channeling that focus ability, and it automatically casts Lightning Blast from that as well. It just lowers the mana benefits from focus as well as armor while channeling. So that basically allows me to then float around like this, and that's why this kind of build works the way it does. And the game has all sorts of cool stuff like that, and just kind of works really well. And from here, I want to talk a little bit about itemization and crafting. Now, like any ARPG, you kill enemies, then items drop. The main difference that this game has, particularly in relation to its crafting, is items drop with a stat called Forging Potential. See that 36 Forging Potential just under the base stats of the item there. Now, Forging Potential is super important because basically you have a lot more agency in what you craft on items, but it's limited up to the Forging Potential. The only thing you can't do is there are special like super high tier affixes, like they're tier 6 and 7, so you can see this as like 3, 1, 2, 3. The tier 6 and 7 ones are only available through drops or some very advanced manipulation of the items. And that kind of means that, I don't have the shards to upgrade the lightning blast one. It would be great too. And I'm not using elemental nova, so it's fine. But say, like, I don't care about this dodge rating or health regeneration. I could either attempt to use this, rune of removal to remove a random affix. I don't really want to try removing a random one. What I want to do is I want to try using a glyph of chaos on, say, this dodge rating, and we'll roll it to something else. Physical resistance. Yeah, cool. I like physical resistance. I don't really need health regeneration either. My build is a lot around water and other things, so I'll try the same thing here. Critical strike avoidance and added dodge rating. Now, dodge rating, I don't really care about. We already went over that. Crit strike avoidance is pretty good though, because I'll, rather not get crit. And then I could just, as long as I have the shards for these, which you just get from picking them up or from breaking items that have it using this rune of shattering. You can just get these, and as long as you have those, you can just kind of upgrade them, and it will just upgrade. And I'm just using this glyph of hope because this is a chance to not consume forging potential, where usually it consumes whatever number it says there. So there we go. I've upgraded my helmet a bit. That's immediately made me stronger. And yeah, so it's very easy to at least get the baseline of items that you want, as opposed to like where, when you're playing other games, quite often it's quite difficult to get the things that you want. Here we go. Here's a nice one. This is really nice. It's got this movement speed, armor, elemental resist, vitality, so that's more health. I want more movement speed. Let's just fucking slap that on. Boom, more movement speed. And you may have noticed that both of these items also have an extra affix down the bottom, this sealed one. That's just a kind of an advanced crafting thing, or like certain enemies will drop them with sealed affixes. Sealed ones cannot be changed once they're on an item. But basically if it's a good way to remove a stat that you don't want or ones that you don't need to upgrade, because the easiest way to seal them is with a glyph of despair, but it has a higher chance the lower tier it is. In this case, this has got a pretty good seal. Extra armor is always nice, and yeah, everything on here is pretty good actually. I like quite like these boots, so I might upgrade them. Level limit though. But yeah, cool. I'm faster now. And now I want to talk a little bit about uniques. Now, the Harbinger of Stars I have here used to be a unique. It became a legendary when I upgraded it. Now, if you have a look, most uniques will drop, I say most. To begin with, uniques will drop like this, where they don't have any kind of this red effect and extra line on it. But then, on occasion, depending on the unique, you'll get ones with this stat here called Legendary Potential. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to basically fuse it with an exalted item, which are those ones with those high tier affixes, to turn it into a legendary. And what it will do is it will gain a affix from the exalted item. For example, I will quickly have a look. I have this belt here. So it's got the high tier of elemental resist. I would have to add a fourth one on just with how it works. But then I would then be able to fuse it with this belt, and it will add two of the stats from that exalted belt onto the unique belt, and it will become a legendary. So that's what I've done with my Harbinger of Stars here. I fused it with the belt and it gained that mana regen. And that is done through a dungeon, and the dungeons in this all have specific rewards, and they're quite cool, although admittedly two of them are not super interesting at the moment. They're cool, they're good, and there's certain uniques you can get from them. But that's also a type of content you could do. Then we have set items, and set items are, like any game, set items. To begin with, they just, you use the set, you get bonuses. For example, these ones are all like Void and Time Rod stuff, things I'm using on my Void Knight. But basically they kind of just function as you get a bonus like that. And that's where I want to start talking about the update and the changes that the update's done. Now, there's a lot to it, but I'll start with some of the stuff. First off, the crafting of legendaries has been made easier. If you do a high tier of the dungeon, you now get to pick one of the stats to put on the item rather than completely random, because that was just really frustrating. There is already ways to turn these non-legendary potential uniques into legendary potential uniques, but they've now given a way to re-roll that as well, which is obviously really powerful. They've given ways to smash sets to be able to craft the set bonuses onto rare items, because you previously couldn't craft anything with set items. But for example, if I had a random exalted shield, I could craft the set bonus from this shield onto it, which I think I do have. You should be able to see in here. Forgotten Knight, here we go. So this is because I smashed the set items, which is a new thing you can do with some of the new endgame stuff. I have the stats from the sets. And you can see that this one, for example, is the shield. It adds void damage, more void damage taken on block. It's actually negative, so it'd be less. And then it gives the set bonus. And the whole idea is you can now craft set bonuses onto rare items. And that's really cool. And one thing with the endgame system in general is they've changed is usually you go into a monolith and you run the monolith. Basically, it's like a big map of different things you can do with different rewards. And part of the endgame thing that they've updated is they've just made so you can do so much with it rather than just like randomly going out and just hoping you get stuff that you want. You now have the ability to kind of add extra things on. Now, at standard, you start in the middle and you kind of branch out and you do a bunch of different difficulty stuff. But then you come across these new tombs and cemeteries. Tombs are just randomly in zones and they let you craft on some of your idols, which is just a small item thing. But cemeteries then let you place extra things. See these like web ones here? These are placed from the cemetery, which I think the cemetery was... It was somewhere there, right there. That was the cemetery. It let me place these at the end, which is really cool. And you can do a lot with it. You end up getting all these different woven echoes, which are the things you place in there. And they all have different rewards and other stuff. It's just super fun to be able to do. Because as I said, one of the places it was lacking was the endgame. And that alone is really good. And there's going to be some endgame boss ones. But I haven't really pushed super far into that. I just hit empowered monoliths on my other, which is the level 100 version of all the monoliths. So yeah, my Void Knight's doing that. This character's obviously quite a bit lower. Now, I don't want to spend too long ranting about everything this update's done or everything the game's done. If you want to find specific information, you can go do that. But I'll just run through a few other little things. First off, they just completely reworked a lot of the Sentinel class, both the Void Knight and Paladin masteries, as well as adding a new skill to the Rogue Marksman class called Heartseeker. In terms of the game itself, there's also these really cool features that they have called the factions, which the Woven, with the Weaver tree, is the one that kind of is leading charge of the update. And this allows you to really specialize in your endgame stuff. There's a whole bunch of things about finding more enemies of certain types, certain boss things, changing the rewards, being able to target farm items in different ways, coming across certain echoes, so certain maps more often, and other things like that. It's really cool, really good you can do that. This character doesn't have much in it because I've only just really started doing endgame. There is another endgame faction that I can't see on this character to do with hunting the Harbingers, which are the endgame bosses, and that gives a bunch of rewards as well. The big thing here is this item factions, which is basically you get to pick between do you want to do a lot of trading with the Merchants Guild, or do you want to kind of target things yourself? And what this Circle of Fortune allows you to do is just get a whole bunch of extra drops, and then you can start kind of target farming with prophecies, which I don't have an example right here, but basically you can buy prophecies and say, when you kill this boss, you'll get this type of item. It's not like always the item you want, but it lets you kind of target what you want a lot easier. Meanwhile, the Merchant's Guild just gives you a whole bunch of items to trade and stuff, allows you to buy and sell all different types of items. So instead of hunting for the thing you want, you make some money and you just fucking buy it. Super powerful, both of them. Very cool that they have it. Generally speaking, the game in all, it just has so much ways to do stuff with items that drop. The fact that uniques can be modified and then upgraded or re-rolled and all this other stuff. They've also just added the ability to re-roll uniques by fusing two of them together without re-rolling legendary potential. So you can start kind of fixing some gear that's lacking a little bit. I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm pretty sure that's one of the later Woven Echoes. Yeah, I don't have anything here for that. Oh, and one last thing that I've kind of shown a little bit, but not really. I have just recently set up all my stash tabs. Oh my god, they improved the stash so much. You can now, on each stash, have tab priorities, and basically you can set a whole bunch of things so that whenever I'm putting stuff into my stash, I will have this tab open. I just put that in. That was a ring with 1 legendary potential. So it's going to go into this one with 1+. I can sort it even more if I want to. Automatically go into there. And then my exalted items are all by different categories here. So yeah, it's super easy to organize all my stuff, which is really cool. Anyway, I think that'll probably be it for today. I play Last Epoch. If you love ARPGs, play it. It's got so much to offer. come check me out on Twitch. I'll be probably streaming more Void Knight stuff, maybe even this character. We'll see. And if you guys want me to make any guides of particular types, I obviously have like a pretty broad amount of knowledge. I haven't like really dived into anything in particular way too much, but like so much cool stuff. But yeah, let me know. Give me some feedback. Love to see you in the next one.